The box arrived without a return address, worn, taped on the edges, and marked by time. Dev Patel stood in the doorway of his London apartment, puzzled by the package. The only clue was a faded tag, to Dev, from the one who never met you, grandfather. He had never known his grandfather. All he remembered were the silences between family dinners and the awkward glances when the man's name surfaced. Yet here it was, a box bearing his name like a whisper from a story no one told. He opened it carefully. Inside was a tattered map, creased, yellowed, and peppered with strange red ink markings. No names of countries, no recognizable landmarks, only hand-drawn roads, small town names he didn't know, and a sentence scrawled at the bottom in faded handwriting. Follow these lives, they remember what others forgot. At first, Dev laughed softly, a prank, a family riddle, but there was something tender in the way the ink danced between the roads and town names. In the corner of the box lay a weathered black and white photograph. His grandfather, young, leaning against a postbox in a tiny village square, smiling with a quiet sort of sadness. Dev's fingers traced the photograph, his curiosity deepening. He folded open the map and studied the names. Granger's Mill, Eldon Brook, Stonefield Cross. Places that seemed like they'd fallen out of a time that barely existed anymore. And then he saw the journal. It was beneath the map, tied with string. Inside were short entries. Some pages just had dates. Others had fragments. Gave him a coat, never asked for thanks. Left the groceries on her porch. She never knew who. Fixed the church bell. Nobody heard me do it. Each note matched a red mark on the map. Dev's breath slowed. This wasn't just a trail. It was a record of kindness, of one man's invisible thread through time. He called his mother that night. Her voice turned somber when he asked. He never talked about those years, she said. He left your father when he was young. Said he had things to make right. We thought he was drifting. Maybe we were wrong. Dev stood by his window, staring out at the streetlights below. The map lay on the table behind him, open like a quiet invitation. It wasn't treasure it pointed to, it was stories, lives, and something inside him stirred. The first town was called Granger's Mill. It wasn't on any GPS. Dev had to ask a roadside florist for directions. The town looked like it had been dipped in sepia, quiet cobblestone streets, a single post office, and a rusted sign that creaked when the wind passed. He had no idea what he was looking for. The red mark on the map placed him near the town square, but all he saw was a bakery, a statue of a soldier, and an old man feeding pigeons on a wooden bench. Dev approached slowly. Excuse me, he began. I'm looking for, well, I'm not sure what I'm looking for. The old man squinted, his eyes sunken but alert. You're not from here. No, Dev replied. I'm tracing someone. My grandfather. I think he might have come through here. Years ago. The man leaned back and nodded slowly. People pass through all the time. Most leave without a trace, but there was one odd fellow, used to fix umbrellas. Dev blinked. Umbrellas? Yeah, he'd sit right there. The man pointed to the far side of the square. Outside the bakery, every Thursday, wouldn't charge a thing, just fix them, rain or shine, always wore the same brown coat. Dev pulled out the photograph. Was it him? The old man studied it for a long moment. Could be. Hard to say, but if it was, he made a difference. He paused, glancing toward the statue. You see her? He pointed to a young woman with a small boy leaving the bakery. She was just 10 when her mother left. One day it rained, and she had no umbrella. That man gave her one, fixed up like new, told her to keep it, said someday she'd pass it on. She still has it? Dev asked. The man chuckled. Gave it to her son last week. Something shifted in Dev's chest. That small act, silent, unseen, still echoed. Before leaving, the old man handed him a folded newspaper clipping. I kept this, don't know why. It was a photo of an empty bench with a caption. To the stranger who fixed our umbrellas, thank you. Dev folded it gently, adding it to his grandfather's journal. Another red mark, another quiet legacy. The second town was Eldon Brook. Dev arrived just before dusk. This one was even smaller, barely a cluster of homes around a church and a diner. The mark on the map pointed to a faded house at the edge of town. As he approached, he noticed the windows had new glass. Odd, most of the other houses had the same aging panes for decades. An older woman answered the door, cautious at first, until Dev explained why he was there. Her eyes welled up. I remember him, she said softly. He showed up after a storm. Roof was leaking, windows shattered. I didn't ask for help, but he fixed it all. never said his name. She walked him to the back garden. The tools were still there, rusted but neatly stored. I offered him dinner. He refused, just smiled and said, "Sometimes kindness is better when no one sees." Dev sat with her under the setting sun, listening to more stories. He didn't record anything, didn't write notes. He simply listened, as if each word helped him reconstruct the man he never knew. That night in a motel with peeling wallpaper, Dev opened the journal again. He added a new line beneath one of the entries. Kindness doesn't need applause. It only needs witnesses. He stared at the next red mark on the map. Tomorrow he'd follow it, not just for the man who left it behind, but for the people who never forgot. The final red mark was inked deeper than the others, as though someone pressed the pen harder, like it mattered more. It led Dev to a coastal village called Marlowe's End. The air smelled of salt and wood smoke. Boats rocked in the harbor, and seagulls cried overhead. He walked the narrow path marked in the journal, past crooked fences and weathered homes, until he reached the end of a cliffside trail. There stood a bench facing the ocean, and beside it, a small brass plaque. For the stranger who built this place of peace. Dev sat down, heart full, and slowly opened the last page of the journal. It was a letter to whoever finds this, maybe my grandson, maybe just someone who cares. I've walked these towns not because I was lost, but because I once was found by kindness. I tried to give back what little I could, a mended umbrella, a fixed roof, a quiet place to rest. The world doesn't always reward kindness with applause, but if you're reading this, it means someone noticed. And that's enough. I never got to meet you, but I hope you live kindly and pass it on. MH. Dev sat for a long time, letting the wind carry his silence. He reached into his bag, pulled out the old frayed map, and folded it one last time. Then, placing the journal gently beneath the bench, he smiled. "Someone else might need it now," he whispered. As he walked back along the path, a young girl was coming up the trail with her father. She looked at the bench, then at Dev. He simply nodded and kept walking. No longer just the grandson of a stranger, but a keeper of quiet legacies. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to share it with someone who believes in quiet kindness. Tell us in the comments, have you ever experienced a small act of compassion that changed everything? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more cinematic stories that uncover the beauty hidden in everyday lives.